Someone opened their eyes to find themselves in an unfamiliar location. He questioned who the person truly was, and if that individual might have already died. He overhears a woman begging one of her ancestors to show compassion toward her and her unborn child, desperately asking for permission to bring her baby into the world. The answer is a resolute denial. Someone else explains that the medicine god Valley has concluded the mother's origins are impaired, her natural abilities lacking, and the unborn child possesses only average potential. A persistent voice kept questioning how the Luo clan could have a child like this without inviting ridicule from neighboring clans. The hero, puzzled by these words, began to search for where the conversation was coming from and started to reflect on what it meant to be born with an inherent weakness. Without warning, he becomes aware of a chilling reality. He now exists as an unborn child, mysteriously brought into a fantastical realm. He stands face to face with his mother, noticing the unmistakable signs of her pregnancy. He comes to the understanding that he is the very child with the natural weakness they have been discussing. He observes Elder's unwavering resolve to leave him behind and reflects on how harsh this world is, a place where only the strong survive, while the defenseless are cast aside from the very beginning. Shantine, the mother, wanted to know whether he supported the choice that had been made. Shan raised his voice at her, demanding to know how her son, whose root bones were damaged, could possibly deserve to share the Luo clan's fortune and blessings. He drew a sharp contrast between this child and its unborn baby, which everyone believed was touched by the heavens. Shantine's mother, her voice edged with anger, reminded him that she had once given him her own true energy to save his life when he lay wounded and unaware. Because of her sacrifice, her own child's root bones had suffered lasting harm. Shantine presented her with a harsh ultimatum. She had to decide between walking away from the Luo clan or giving up her own child. The mother reacts with surprise when she hears the choices presented to her. The unborn child questions what sort of cruel person would push a mother into facing such a difficult choice. He watches nervously, hoping to see which option his mother will select. The mother comes to her final decision. She declares her intention to depart from the Luo clan. Both the elder and Shantine stared at her, their faces filled with surprise. Announces that her fate is inseparably tied to that of her child. From that day onward, any connection with the Luo clan was completely severed. The child promises his mother that, even though he is frail and his root bones are injured, he planned to put in great effort to improve himself, and together they would regain their sense of pride. At that decisive moment, an electronic interface known as the Late Bloomer system materialized in front of him. The connection was established with him as a result of his unwavering resolve to pursue cultivation. He feels a rush of surprise and excitement at discovering he now possesses a system. He grew frustrated upon hearing the name and yelled in protest, insisting that he hadn't even been born yet, so it was unfair to call him a late bloomer. He learns that the system's complete title is the System of Late Blooming Greatness, and he reflects on how it is already encouraging him to strive even before he is born. At that moment, the character questioned whether this system had arrived centuries before its time, perhaps as much as 300 years too soon. The system reveals to him a vision of the hardships ahead, where both he and his mother are unable to practice cultivation and become the targets of scorn and mockery from those around them. The system kept revealing the boy's heartbreaking destiny, illustrating how his half-brother had already attained enlightenment, while he could only survive by taking medicine that his mother had desperately pleaded for. After his mother passed away, he only found the resolve to challenge destiny. The fetus fiercely resists its fate, internally pleading for the system to cease displaying such a heartbreaking future. Upon discovering that the system had arrived 3 centuries ahead of schedule, he resolved to transform his disappointing existence into one marked by success. He makes a solemn promise to transform his fate, aiming to become a miraculous force that surges across the skies. The system assigned him an initial task. He needed to willingly practice cultivation for the first time and impress his mother. If he succeeded, his reward would be to merge with the ancient sacred body. He stands frozen in disbelief. The system clarified that this new body possessed unmatched physical power, strong enough to rival even the ancient emperors. He comes to understand that this new power gives him the ability to challenge destiny itself. Inside the safety of the womb, the child effortlessly directed spiritual energy throughout their body by utilizing the natural rhythm of fetal breathing. His mother senses unusual movements within herself. She is stunned, questioning whether her son began cultivating even before he was born. The system declared that the mission had been finished and immediately started merging him with the ancient sacred body. This action triggers the power passed down from the wise elders of long ago. The mother observed an unusual flash outside the window that looked remarkably like lightning. Within her mind, she witnesses images of legendary emperors, whose presence makes even the bravest heroes seem insignificant. The mother senses a surge of radiant, golden energy, mending the broken parts deep within her spirit. Her bewilderment deepens as she struggles to understand how her child, whom she always thought lacked ability, could be responsible for such an extraordinary event. The system outlined the cultivation journey, starting with the three foundational realms: blood transformation, cave heaven, and spirit manifestation. Each of these realms was divided into 10 stages. It also noted that achieving specific ranks within these realms before becoming an adult was considered proof of extraordinary talent. Achieving the venerable realm before becoming an adult, especially by surpassing spirit manifestation, was regarded as an extraordinary feat, something so rare that people believed it could only be explained by destiny itself. The system revealed the updated condition of the child, who had been given the name, showing that his ancient sacred body had achieved the initial stage of blood transformation. In a swift progression, he continued to ascend, quickly reaching the second, third, and then the fourth levels. Boldly announces that from this moment forward, he will challenge fate and carve out a new path for himself. At a different location, the mother reached a spacious home and let her eldest brother and his wife know that she had come back. She arrives and is welcomed by her oldest brother, along with his wife. The brother told his sister that they had journeyed to a more powerful sect for assistance with her child's illness, since everyone feared the Luo clan and refused to help. Lashed out at, claiming that only returned seeking assistance because the Luo clan had already rejected him. Siqing gazed at her, his expression laced with sarcasm. His look seemed to suggest that the Luo family had refused to let her claim the marriage alliance benefits meant for the true heir of the Mo clan. Now, although she acted as if she was proud, she had really come back only to pick up whatever was left behind. Her expression, filled with sorrow, expressed that her only wish was for her child to be safe. Her brother, brimming with anger, stepped in to protect her, firmly instructing his wife to remain silent and vowing that the clan would supply every resource needed for his nephew. The oldest sibling attempted to soothe his sister, reassuring her that she shouldn't let his wife's biting remarks trouble her. He explained that, despite her harsh way of speaking, his wife was genuinely good-natured. Calmly let him know that she wasn't upset, and explained that she understood her sister-in-law's personality very well. At the same time, the unborn realized his mother was not facing the mistreatment he had feared. Instead, he sensed a kindness and acceptance from the family that was far greater than anything he had known with the Luo family. His parents arrived unexpectedly, declaring their return and revealing that they had brought an important guest along, cutting short his train of thought. Sage Miao, hailing from the illustrious Palace of Creation Sage, made their presence known. The unborn child gazed in awe at the sage's stunning appearance, convinced that such extraordinary beauty belonged in a fantasy realm. Without warning, the fetus reacts with astonishment as his electronic system activates once more, this time displaying a fresh assignment labeled Late Blooming Greatness. Comes to understand that the system is designed to respond on its own whenever it faces someone strong. With this knowledge, he concludes that, for now, Sage Miao is the most advantageous choice available to him. He believes that revealing his abilities at an early age will lead the clan to hold his mother in higher regard. The mother approached the sage with respect, seeking his assistance. Meanwhile, the unborn child within her prepared to impress the sage by revealing the extraordinary strength of his ancient sacred body. The sage instructs the group to remain outside, assuring them that she will conduct an examination of the patient and the unborn child within the hall. The sage gently conveyed to the worried mother that she would avoid using any spiritual energy on the unborn child, understanding that the fetus was too fragile for such intervention. The sage gently rests her hand on the woman's wrist, carefully assessing her health. The fetus detected the word weak, and with a surge of sarcasm, mentally dared her to repeat that insult to his ancient, revered form. The moment the sage's hand comes to rest on the mother's wrist, a noticeable shift crosses her face. She senses a menacing energy radiating from the wild and ancient primordial age. The mother, her face etched with concern, looks at her daughter and tries to understand what is going on. The sage, filled with surprise, wonders aloud if someone has already determined that this child is without natural abilities. The mother acknowledges that the healers from the Luo clan had indeed made this diagnosis. The sage resolves to personally assess how much potential the child possesses, channeling her abilities to scrutinize him closely. Sensing that his future master remains unconvinced, the fetus chooses to unleash his complete strength, directing his ancient, sacred form to fully awaken. The sage observes that the young child continues to persist, showing no signs of surrender. She found herself impressed by his determination in battle, reflecting that if fate hadn't brought her to this place, the world might have been deprived of a truly exceptional talent. The mother stands frozen in disbelief. Unaware of the real secret behind the baby's unique bone structure, the sage offers to use her mystical artifact, an object said to unveil the reality behind anything, to illuminate the child and uncover the truth. The mother expresses heartfelt appreciation toward her, showing how truly grateful she feels. As the sage and the mother stepped out of the hall, a wave of anxiety swept through the clan members gathered outside. They believed the examination must have ended so soon because the child was beyond saving. The sage advises the group to keep their minds calm and not allow their imaginations to get out of control. She then reveals that the baby she is carrying is not just safe, but also blessed with extraordinary abilities. Sage Miao acknowledged that her recent examination revealed the truth, and she felt fortunate to have arrived and observed these events firsthand. The grandfather appears bewildered as he contemplates his grandson's impressive abilities, recalling how he had always been told the boy was not naturally gifted. The sage waves off the diagnosis, considering it to be the foolish claim of a doctor who knows nothing. With the aid of her prized possession, the sage revealed a breathtaking spectacle to the clan. In the sky above, 9 magnificent golden dragons soared, pulling an enormous bronze coffin through the clouds. The sight left every clan member overwhelmed, their faces filled with astonishment and admiration. The sage reveals that even one of the 9 mighty sovereign dragons possesses enough power to destroy the entire clan effortlessly, needing only a single finger to do so. The clan members speculated among themselves, uncertain about who was being dragged into the coffin. The vision instead displayed a young man whose features bore a striking similarity to his mother. The sage comes to understand that the ancient sacred body has manifested within the family, signaling the imminent rise of a heavenly emperor. The grandfather and grandmother were filled with happiness, and tears streamed down the grandmother's face as she exclaimed that their family had received a blessing from the heavens. Gazed at her stomach with a sense of pride, feeling that her child had genuinely made her proud and brought her great honor. The sage shifted his attention toward. She explained that she preferred to skip formalities and get straight to the point, proposing that the woman's child become her disciple at the palace of eternal creation. She assures him that she will guide and support his development, vowing to remain by his side throughout his training until he rises to become a matchless power in the world. The clan members are stunned once more as they recognize that the offer concerns the coveted role of head disciple, a title so prestigious that even the heirs of imperial clans would risk their lives to obtain it. At the same time, the unborn believed the Palace of Creation was an elite sect, far surpassing the minimum standard of a third-rate sect required by his system. He excitedly imagines how large his reward might be. The mother lowered herself in a respectful bow as she accepted the offer, conveying how deeply she and the entire clan appreciated the sage's generous kindness. The mother reflects on how drastically everything has changed within just one day, silently wondering if her child desires to follow the sage as a disciple. The sage's lips curved into a gentle smile as she reflected on her good fortune. She realized that her compassion had led her to the clan, and if not for that moment of pity, she would never have encountered this astonishingly gifted and fearsome individual. At that instant, System revealed a brief vision of the sorrowful fate that once awaited him, and then informed him that his objective of entering a sect ranked third-rate or above had been accomplished. Felt a surge of quiet triumph as he completed the mission, fully aware that the Palace of Creation stood among the most powerful forces. He anticipated his reward with growing excitement. He felt certain that, armed with the ancient sacred body and a powerful cultivation method, nothing could hinder his progress. The system revealed a reward, a powerful cultivation technique known as the art of the heaven-devouring demon. Could hardly believe it when he came into possession of this legendary technique. The system describes the technique as one that draws spiritual energy from both the heavens and the earth, creating a swirling force of cultivation. This method is not only capable of growth and transformation, but also possesses strong healing properties and powerful suppressive abilities. The fetus realizes he must act quickly, understanding that this moment is his opportunity. He wasted no time and started practicing cultivation even before he was born, developing his abilities while still inside his mother's womb. A radiant golden energy began to emanate from him, spiraling through the hall and leaving his mother and the other clan members in awe. His uncle and aunt stared in utter astonishment, unable to comprehend how their nephew could begin cultivating even before his birth. The grandfather joyfully announces that the family has received a blessing from above, as the uncle and his wife stare in disbelief. At the same time, Sage Miao feels pleased as she reflects that having a disciple with the ancient sacred body will make others hesitate to call her lineage weak when the Immortal Palace's tournament takes place a century later. The sage announces that taking on a new student calls for a token of introduction, and, as his mentor, she intends to offer him a valuable gift before anyone else. Still in his fetal form, brimmed with self-assurance, he believed his holy physique combined with the powerful heaven-devouring demon technique would cause the treasure to acknowledge him as its rightful master right away. With a surge of spiritual energy, he called out to the treasure, certain that claiming an ordinary artifact would pose no challenge for him. The treasure moved purposefully toward the mother's womb and became one with it. The sage was taken aback, puzzled by the thought of how a child yet to be born could cause a precious artifact to recognize his presence. However, the events continued beyond that point. Once the system's task was finished, the unborn child used its mind to order the treasure, now named the Heaven and Earth Fire Suppression Armor, to undergo an enhancement. The armor shifted and developed, becoming a natural spirit treasure. The family gazed in astonishment, their minds racing to comprehend how an unborn child had managed to tame and enhance such a remarkable treasure. The sage realized inwardly that her original plan was to assist the boy in fusing with the treasure. However, she observed with amazement that he had not only mastered it by himself, but his extraordinary physique had also transformed the treasure into an innate spirit treasure. The sage concludes that having a spirit treasure naturally linked to him will protect him from being harmed by any ordinary cultivator. She declares her intention to come back in person once, attains the cave heaven realm, promising to lead him to the sect and introduce him to the expansive world of cultivation. 3 days passed, and soldiers belonging to the powerful divine dynasty made their appearance. The group bursts into the clan's hall, insisting that the leader appear without delay. Quickly understands that the visitors are aware of her and her son's removal from the Luo family and have arrived to break off his engagement. Meanwhile, the unborn child finds the situation and silently promises that the dynasty will rue this choice once he enters the world. The commander of the troops turned to the fetus's uncle and brought up the marriage agreement that had been set many years before. The uncle, his voice edged with anger, demands an explanation for their sudden and disruptive entrance into the hall. The leader revealed his name to be General Wu Kai, and officially declared that the marriage agreement was no longer in effect. The uncle's temper flared as he reminded them that it was their own dynasty that had originally pursued this political alliance, and now they were dismissing it without showing any regard for the dignity of the family. General Wu Qi countered by pointing out that everyone was already aware of banishment, insisting her child no longer held any claim as an heir, and doubting that the minor clan deserved to ally with their powerful dynasty. Meanwhile, the unborn child silently dismissed their claim about his lack of talent, inwardly promising that this very general would one day kneel and plead for him to marry their princess as soon as he was born. The general persisted with his mocking words, claiming that their emperor had shown kindness by sending him. He insisted that if not for this mercy, they would be the ones bowing before the imperial hall, demanding that their princess be granted a marriage of imperial status rather than being matched with the unworthy, flawed descendant of the family. The uncle declares that the boy deserves to be put to death because of his disrespectful behavior and the accusations he has made against the uncle. The uncle declares that the boy deserves. The general let out a mocking laugh as he looked down on the uncle. The figure lunges toward the fetus, determined to eliminate what it considers worthless. The unborn child becomes furious when someone tries to hurt his mother. Out of nowhere, an enormous spectral hand materialized and intercepted the general's strike, prompting the general to cry out in shock and urgently summon the elders. Two elderly individuals entered the scene, their laughter filling the air. The character ridiculed the family's grandfather, then suggested that he could teach the old man himself. General Wu Qi presented the two elderly figures to those gathered, clarifying that they were the elders, seasoned cultivators serving within the dynasty's royal court. Meanwhile, within the womb, silently observed that these two ancient figures possessed impressive cultivation skills. The uncle raised his voice in anger as he leveled accusations against the great dynasty, claiming they had joined forces with the infamous and dishonorable elders. He challenged whether their dynasty felt any sense of shame for their actions. An elder reacted with irritation, looking down on the uncle and questioning whether he had the right to speak at that moment. An elder suddenly lunged at the uncle, prompting the grandfather to step in and shield him. As the grandfather caught the uncle, he was shoved backward by the force of the attack. Amidst the confusion, the second elder seized his chance and aimed a lethal strike with his sword at who was expecting a child. With a mocking grin, he doubted aloud that the grandfather had the strength to shield everyone from harm. Without hesitation, the fetus's internal system detected a deadly danger and activated an urgent mission, instructing him to safeguard his mother's life. The unborn child seethed with intense anger, appalled by the sheer wickedness of attacking someone who was expecting. At that moment, unleashed the powerful heaven-devouring demon art, directing its force to consume the oncoming assault. A swirling vortex appeared, absorbing the spiritual energy unleashed by the elders' attacks. The elders stood in disbelief, stunned and confused as their strength disappeared before their eyes. The grandfather was puzzled, trying to figure out who could have stepped in to support the family. The frightened elders joined forces, sending forth a wave of blue, spectral hands in a coordinated assault. The unborn child instinctively summoned his natural spirit treasure, generating a barrier of icy flames between heaven and earth, aiming to incinerate his attackers. The elders recoiled in fear as powerful flames burst forth, their intensity overwhelming everyone present. They soon understood they were up against a natural spirit treasure, and found themselves puzzled over how a modest family like the could own such a powerful artifact. One individual insisted that the concealed figure come forward and cease lurking in the darkness. The system declared that had overcome a deadly challenge, and as a reward, granted him the rare 9-turn Great Mysterious Rebirth pill. The directions stated that swallowing this pill would immediately replenish spiritual energy. Feeling assured, the unborn child made a silent promise to reclaim the family's pride that very day. Far in the distance, Sage Miao sensed the sudden surge of power from the spirit treasure. Amazed, she realized her disciple had already put it to use, even though only 3 days had passed since her departure. She concentrated her abilities, attempting to perceive the events unfolding around her. A ghostly image of her materialized above the family's hall, her expression filled with fury as she demanded to know the identity of the reckless person bold enough to hurt her disciple. She stormed into the hall with authority, announcing that the child before them was the chief disciple of the Palace of Eternal Creation, and demanded to know who dared to challenge him. The fetus reacted with shock when it sensed its master nearby, suspecting that she had hidden a safeguard inside the treasure. An elder, unwilling to accept the truth, lashed out at the sage's projection, hurling accusations of trickery and deceit. The sage skillfully deflected the attempted strike, while the unborn being expressed disdain, finding it laughable that an emperor from ages past would dare confront a sage of equal antiquity. He experienced a wave of relief, knowing that his master had stepped in. Both elders froze in disbelief. An elder attempted to intimidate the sage, suggesting that if she shared her name, their royal family might consult her for wisdom in the days ahead. The sage dismissed his warning with a mocking laugh, insisting that someone of such low rank as a fourth-rate ancient emperor did not deserve to know her name. In that instant, the grandfather unleashed the sage's spirit crane, sending it swiftly toward one of the elders as his chosen target. The attacker overwhelmed him with sheer force, leaving him battered and bloodied as he slammed into the ground. General Wu Kai froze in disbelief, stunned that the simple mention of divine consciousness could overpower an ancient emperor. In that moment, he understood that the woman before him truly hailed from the Palace of Eternal Creation. The family had once looked down on their own son, believing he possessed only ordinary abilities, never expecting that he would one day step into this grand palace. Now, as reflected on the situation, he realized that any thoughts of regret had come far too late. The elder, having lost, pleaded with the general to withdraw from the battle. As the general stared in horror at the image conjured by the sage, disbelief filled his mind, unable to accept that such a thing could truly be happening. He harshly condemned the Luo clan, believing they had foolishly exiled someone with the rare talent to unlock the Palace of Creation, an act he felt would bring ruin to the mighty dynasty. The elderly patriarch of the family earnestly pleaded with the wise sage, requesting mercy for the self-serving individuals, hoping they would live long enough to see the extraordinary person his grandson was destined to become. The sage nodded in agreement, instructing them to survive and carry an important message back to their dynasty. The marriage agreement linking the family to the great dynasty was officially dissolved. The unborn child felt a sense of satisfaction, curious if his creator was planning to assist him. The sage pauses to reflect, then raises their voice, announcing that they have no authority to dissolve the marriage of their disciples. She released a surge of energy that sent the soldiers stumbling backward and flung the annulment document in their direction, making it clear that it was her disciple who rejected the idea of marrying the princess from their dynasty. The sage raises his voice at the group, demanding to know the reason for their lingering presence. She reminded them that they must remember to give back the engagement gifts, making it clear that if they failed to do so, she would come personally to reclaim them. The general, having been bested, found himself with no choice but to give a reluctant nod of agreement. Once the visitors had left, the relatives paid their respects to the wise woman with deep bows. The uncle then thanked her sincerely, acknowledging that her timely help and the power of the spirit treasure had saved the family from a terrible fate. The elderly man moves ahead, expressing deep gratitude on behalf of his family for the remarkable generosity she has shown. The sage advises the group against worrying, explaining that by accepting as her disciple, their family's matters have become connected with her own. However, she goes on to specify that claiming she personally wielded the spirit treasure would not be completely correct. The spirit crane let out a laugh, noting that her master was honest and would never claim recognition for something her disciple had accomplished. The wise elder assured his grandson that their family would gather every resource possible to support him. The fetus felt deeply moved by these thoughts, believing wholeheartedly that this person was its true master. The grandfather realized the sage's intentions and signaled for everyone else to step outside, wanting to speak with her alone. After everyone else had left, the grandfather turned to the sage, and wondered aloud about the unique physical traits his grandson must have to allow him to wield a spirit treasure before even being born. The sage discloses that the child carries the rare and ancient sacred body spoken of in legends. The grandfather stood frozen, overwhelmed by disbelief. The sage admitted her own uncertainty regarding the boy's ability to command the treasure even before birth, noting that it had been hundreds of thousands of years since anyone with such a physique had emerged. She mentioned that, now that the child had begun his cultivation, the true extent of his strength at birth remained unimaginable to everyone. The grandfather is filled with happiness, feeling that their family has received a wonderful blessing from above. The sage cautions that cultivating the archaic sacred body demands extraordinary resources, emphasizing that a strong foundation must be established before officially stepping into the palace of creation. The elderly man expressed his gratitude for the timely reminder, assuring her that the clan would unite its efforts to ensure a strong and stable future for. The uncle's wife cheered enthusiastically, confidently predicting that the family was on the verge of achieving great success. The uncle declared with determination that they needed to ensure the Luo clan would come to regret their choice. Within the safety of the womb, pondered all that had happened lately. He realized that in this world, only the strong held any real power. He remembered how his stunning master had defeated her foes with hardly any effort, forcing them to use every ounce of their strength. Determined to succeed, decided he needed to start gaining an advantage even before he was born. Once the event concludes, the family comes together to pay their respects to the clan's forebear. The ancestor explains that news of the child's unusual body has already reached him. Although this ability holds extraordinary strength, it demands endless supplies. Because of this, the ancestor chooses to surrender everything he owns to support the child. The mother voiced her disapproval of the plan, reasoning that the ancestor required almost half of the clan's fortune to sustain his cultivation. She argued that surrendering all their resources would force the entire clan to invest everything they had into raising this single child. Nevertheless, the ancestor remains firm in his choice, declaring it unchangeable, and proceeds to give the resources that Sage Miao had provided. The mother expresses her gratitude to him, speaking for her son. The system within the unborn child assigned a fresh task: to maintain diligent cultivation for an entire month with the goal of astonishing the ancestor, promising the ultimate celestial grandeur as a reward for success. His anticipation grew as he thought about the reward. The system revealed that such magnificence was reserved for ancient, mighty beings, and was always accompanied by a rare, natural divine power. The unborn child believed that, thanks to the resources he had gathered and the powerful heaven-devouring demon technique in his possession, he could achieve the spirit manifestation realm. He was certain that reaching such a high level before even being born would be enough to gain the ancestor's admiration. He wastes no time and starts his cultivation right away. A month passed, and the ancestor grew increasingly bored and uneasy, prompting him to visit his grandson to see how he was doing. Throughout the month, he remained vigilant, closely monitoring the family's gifted heir to guarantee his safety at all times. However, he had failed to pay attention to how his cultivation was advancing. As he finally examined his level, astonishment swept over him. He could hardly believe that his grandson had managed to attain the highest stage of the spirit manifestation realm in only a single month. At that exact time, the unborn child reflected on having achieved this level 3 days earlier, and considered whether he could surpass his current limits to enter the venerable realm, uncertain if he would be able to accomplish it. The moment the ancestor realized his level, the system declared that the Impress the Ancestor mission had been accomplished. The fetus wore a sly grin, amused by how quickly his ancestor became impressed. The ultimate prize manifested as a majestic, ghostly figure, radiating a powerful presence. Just sensing its aura, the unborn child felt the barriers to growth begin to dissolve. The system initiated the process of merging the grandeur with him on its own. The unborn child chooses to astonish his forebear even further. During the fusion, he draws upon the might of the grandeur, allowing him to advance into the venerable realm. As he observes, a violet energy radiates from the grandeur, filling him with satisfaction. The ancestor's concern deepened as he noticed his grandson striving to achieve a breakthrough, anxious that such a hasty effort might harm the boy's cultivation base. Simultaneously, the mother senses a different presence inside her child. The breakthrough happens more smoothly than expected, allowing the unborn child to learn that the powerful gift he received from the supreme grandeur is connected to the force of time. He understands that he was too impatient before, and that reaching the venerable realm was as far as he could go at his previous pace. However, equipped with his newfound ability, he now manipulates time itself, causing it to decelerate at his will. This opportunity allowed him to advance to greater heights before his birth. The ancestor stands in awe, overwhelmed by the powerful presence radiating from his grandson, a presence marked by hints of the laws of time. Realizing his own limits, he admits to himself that he could not understand the boy's abilities, not even before the child was born. He bursts into joyful laughter, confidently proclaiming that the family has been richly favored by heaven once more. Several months passed, and began experiencing the pains of childbirth. For 3 tense hours, her family lingered outside the room, their faces etched with worry as they awaited any news. The midwife encourages her to stay strong and not give up. At the instant entered the world, his system declared that he had already achieved the level of an ancient immortal from birth. At the moment of his birth, an extraordinary event unfolded in the sky, drawing the gaze of renowned individuals from distant lands. These distinguished figures descended from the heavens, each eager to extend their heartfelt congratulations. Spectators questioned how a seemingly unremarkable true immortal could trigger such a vast celestial event, until one among them understood that this spectacle was surely linked to the arrival of the child. The powerful dynasty had turned away. A more experienced individual reprimands him. She explained that the rumors had long since faded into the past, then went on to share how remarkable the family's child was, so much so that even before he was born, a sage from the palace of eternal creation had chosen him as a disciple. Without warning, the ruler of the powerful Shia dynasty made his entrance. She soon understood that the disturbance created by the young child was far too significant to overlook. Legendary signs in the sky kept emerging, each more astonishing than the last. Among them was the appearance of the golden lotus blooming above the bitter sea. The spectators watch in awe as the strange events persist. Soon, breathtaking rivers and majestic mountains came into view. The glowing stars above continued to shine brightly. The emperor identified the final phenomenon as the legendary yin-yang life and death diagram, a mystical vision that had not appeared in over a millennium. However, who had just entered the world still had more to show. He combines the power of all 5 extraordinary visions, creating a single, ultimate event. From the highest realms, the undying monarch makes his appearance. With tears glistening in his eyes, the ancestor gazes at, his heart swelling with pride as he recognizes in his grandson the qualities of a future great emperor. The emperor of the dynasty was filled with sorrow, silently longing that this child could have been part of his own royal family. He briefly thinks about changing the wedding plans, but his embarrassment quickly makes him reject the thought. At the same time, the mother cradled her child in her arms, expressing that he was the source of her greatest pride. Spectators observed that the Luo clan was likely experiencing deep regret at that moment. The emperor, after careful thought, decides there is only one course of action left. With the realization that they have angered someone so gifted, he resolves that their sole chance of survival is to destroy the prodigy before he has a chance to grow stronger. 5 years passed, and was seen as a young child, sitting quietly in meditation while skillfully using his power to make time move more slowly around him. Even after attaining the highest level of the ancient king realm, he believes his advancement remains frustratingly sluggish. The lively servants burst in, urging him to take a break while presenting him with fruit said to grant immortality. He feels irritated by how overly excited they are. Ended his meditation and stood up, acknowledging the presence of his ancestor, who had been patiently waiting for him. The ancestor admired Young, recognizing that at just 5 years old he had already achieved the highest level of the ancient king realm. The ancestor realized that before long, his abilities would surpass his own. modestly admits that he has been unable to advance for more than a month, feeling trapped at a difficult stage with no progress. Found himself caught in a difficult situation. 12 months earlier, his system had tasked him with exploring a hidden realm, yet he remained trapped within the clan's walls, unable to escape because both the Great Dynasty and the Luo clan had declared him a target. He also became aware of a hidden threat lurking within the clan. While he was practicing one day, an ominous and poisonous presence unsettled him. By following the trail back, he found himself at the rear mountain behind the clan grounds. At that moment, he became aware of a frightening and evil presence, understanding that his abilities were far too weak to stand against it. Came across an array designed to subdue demons. Even so, the once strong seal now displayed visible cracks, revealing that it too was starting to weaken. Faced with danger from within and a deadly order from outside, he realized his abilities fell far short of what he needed. He concluded that seeking out a hidden realm was necessary if he wanted to strengthen his abilities quickly. Resumed his exchange with his ancestor, explaining that he had detected an unusual presence in the back mountain. The ancestor acknowledged that he had sensed it as well. He offers comfort, explaining that the entity is unable to break the seal under ordinary conditions. However, his explanation is abruptly interrupted when alarming news suddenly arrives. A member of the clan rushed into the room with urgent news, announcing that a sage's hidden realm had surfaced in their eastern sea. He went on to explain that the dynasty and the Luo clan had already joined forces in an attempt to claim it. The ancestor wasted no time and summoned the entire clan for a meeting. Expressed his determination to participate, confidently stating that his recent advancement to the ancient king realm made him eligible. Upon hearing this, the ancestor nodded in agreement. During the meeting, the ancestor reveals that the initial topic relates to his grandson. Spoke to everyone gathered, revealing that he had attained the highest level in his cultivation months earlier. However, since he had been unable to break through to the next stage, he wished to leave the clan and seek new experiences to aid his progress. Once the participants verify his rank, the elders watched his swift improvement with admiration, yet they firmly opposed his decision to leave, believing the journey was too risky and convinced that their foes had prepared an obvious ambush. The ancestor recommended purchasing a break the ancient pill for him rather than letting him face the danger, and the uncle accepted this idea. Feels that the overwhelming praise he receives has started to hold him back, making it difficult for him to grow. Cut into their conversation, urging the others to pay attention to what he had to say. He understood their worries, yet wondered how he would ever grow more powerful if he always relied on the clan for protection whenever trouble appeared. He reveals that despite attaining the highest level in his field, he has never experienced a true fight for survival. He also brings up the powerful artifact his master once gave him, emphasizing that even a legendary emperor from the past would struggle to seize it from him. He begged for permission to venture beyond, hoping to grow stronger by facing the challenges of the world outside. After listening to the boy's reasoning, the uncle mentioned that, when they were 5 years old, they had never encountered risks like these. The ancestor silently acknowledged that cultivation had already surpassed most of the others, granting him the right to choose his own path. The ancestor, though hesitant, eventually consented. However, he cautioned that the most talented members of the Luo clan and the dynasty had already ventured into the secret realm. He explained that they had prepared a trap specifically for him, where ancient emperors would be lying in wait, ready to strike the moment his true identity became known. Replied with unwavering certainty, his tone laced with scorn as he wondered aloud why anyone would fear something as insignificant as an ancient emperor. The ancestor burst into hearty laughter, clearly moved by his grandson's determination, and proclaimed that this unwavering resolve truly embodied the spirit of their clan's descendants. He granted permission for him to leave, reminding him to stay safe, and expressed his gratitude. Without hesitation, he begins his journey right away. His mother stands at the doorway, silently hoping he will come back home safely as she watches him depart. Approached the gateway to the secret realm, and observed that the area was alive with activity. He moved closer to a nearby cultivator, greeting them with courtesy, and inquired whether they had entered the legendary secret realm once belonging to the ancient sage. At first, the cultivator feels irritated. However, upon observing the fine fabric and elegant design of satire, it becomes clear to the observer that he could be a young heir belonging to a prestigious family. He adjusted the way he spoke and gave a positive response. Introduced himself as a member of a modest sect before expressing curiosity about the large gathering of children and young people. The cultivator, his tone laced with bitterness, reveals that influential groups such as the Great Dynasty and the Luo clan have seized control over this realm, restricting access so that only individuals younger than 18 are permitted to enter. Speculates about the talented individuals his adversaries might have dispatched. Just then, a delegation from the powerful Defying dynasty entered, with the Grand Princess at their head. Her striking beauty left everyone watching in awe. One of her attendants attempts to win her favor by offering compliments and making disparaging remarks about her rivals. The princess demonstrated her intelligence by cautioning her not to look down on others. She highlighted the exceptional abilities of two formidable rivals, the enigmatic heir of the young Luo clan leader and the son from the family. She laments the loss of a valuable supporter for her dynasty. The attendant placed the blame for the incident squarely on the notorious General Wu Kai, yet the princess swiftly intervened, instructing her to cease and instead reflect on the lesson to be learned from their error. Both attendants nodded in agreement. From a distance, observed the princess, captivated by her graceful appearance. He noticed that, unlike the general who had once disrespected his family, she showed no hint of pride or arrogance. The Luo clan made a grand entrance, their carriage crackling with lightning as it rolled into view. Watched their arrival with a relieved smile, having secretly worried they might not attend. A senior member of the clan presented their chosen representative to the Grand Princess as the contender for the secret realm. Luo Dong attempts to say hello to her. She acts as if he isn't there, giving him no attention at all. He turned to the older woman beside him, proposing that they work together to unlock the hidden realm. Luo Dong felt a flush of embarrassment mixed with rising anger. The leaders from each clan joined forces, collaborating closely to unlock the entrance to the hidden realm. The juniors receive instructions to go inside right away. Believed the moment had finally arrived to seek retribution against the Luo clan for what they had done in the past. As he approached the entrance, Wan Qiu, the elder woman of the Luo clan, caught sight of him. She immediately observed how much his appearance mirrored that of his mother. She realizes that the young man must be the talented member of the clan and is taken aback by his boldness in venturing into such a perilous area. Meanwhile, smoothly sidesteps her efforts to block his way and slips into the secret realm without difficulty. Outside, Elder Wan Qiu of the Luo clan made up her mind to alert her family. She silently promised herself that because had the courage to show up, she would make sure he never escaped this place alive. At the same time, sets out on his journey within the mysterious hidden realm. He comes across mysterious creatures with otherworldly powers. She believes that the creature has been caught in the snare. Realizes that the creatures before him consist entirely of spiritual energy, allowing him to overcome them with little effort. He believed that those things had no impact on him, convinced that the rewards from his system were far more valuable than anything else. He stayed alert, fully conscious that both the Luo clan and the dynasty were likely monitoring his movements, and had already arranged a trap for him beyond the walls. Sensing that his current abilities were insufficient to confront them, he realized he had to seize this chance to push himself to greater heights. Without warning, his system informed him that the mission to find the ancient sage's secret realm had been successfully completed. The figure grants him a surge of power, bestowing upon him the accumulated strength of a century's worth of cultivation. Wastes no time before settling down, eager to harness the overwhelming surge of energy and curious about the extent of his impending transformation. A surge of powerful energy formed a towering column of golden light that burst upward into the heavens, immediately drawing the eyes of every young cultivator within the secret realm. As more people gathered, it became clear to them that what they were witnessing was not the discovery of a hidden treasure, but instead the frightening arrival of a powerful thunderstorm from the heavens. Someone among them identified the phenomenon as a ninefold thunder tribulation that had been condensed into one powerful blast, understanding that such an event was an uncommon occurrence in the heavens. Luo Dong, renowned as the most talented member of the Luo clan, viewed the situation as a chance to build a connection with Princess. He proposed that they join forces in hopes of claiming the rumored treasure together. The princess reacts with care, pointing out that the severity of this tribulation cannot be foreseen. Luo Dong remained steadfast in his position. He silently resolved that he needed to capture the interest of this fascinating woman. In the center of the raging tempest faces the unfolding trial, where the storm itself takes shape as a grand palace forged from lightning. A sudden, intense bolt of lightning crashes down on him. Having endured the initial blow, the character dismissed its lack of strength with a look of disdain. He channels the heaven-devouring demon art, absorbing the might of the tribulation into himself. He then confronts a formidable opponent, a warrior encased in armor and crackling with lightning energy. Deflects the bolts of lightning with effortless skill. The figure dashes forward, closing the distance between themselves and the warrior. The warrior's anger surged, causing a fierce bolt of lightning to erupt from their hands. Unleashes the most powerful sword techniques passed down through his clan. The character prepared to strike with one last, decisive attack. From a distance, the group stared in utter bewilderment, each of them trying to figure out what sort of being might summon such a fearsome bolt of thunder from the heavens. As they watched, someone among them suddenly spotted a lone human silhouette standing right in the center of the raging storm. The princess comes to a breathtaking and unlikely realization. She understands that a tribulation is taking place for the ascension to ancient emperor, and because the secret realm only allows those under 18, it means that a remarkably young individual is accomplishing something never seen before. Luo Dong observed the fierce storm, noticing that the person enduring it remained untouched by harm. He understood that, if allowed to live, this individual would become a serious threat in the future. Determined to prevent that outcome, Luo Dong made up his mind to kill him if a chance presented itself during the chaos of the thunder. The force of the tribulation grew so strong that it seemed ready to rip the entire secret realm to pieces, sending the spectators running away in fear. Luo Dong quickly moves to shield Princess, stepping in front of her just as the shockwave threatens to hit. She expresses her gratitude to him for the assistance he provided. Once the storm calmed, the enigmatic stranger vanished without a trace, causing everyone there to assume he had not survived his ordeal and had been completely destroyed, both physically and spiritually. Luo Dong made another attempt to persuade the princess to join forces with him, explaining that a mysterious force threatened them both, and that their only chance of safety lay in standing together. The princess declined his offer with grace, explaining that she had already assembled her own group. With a hint of sarcasm hidden in her words, she remarked that his impressive power would surely be too much for her modest team to handle. Luo Dong seethed with anger after being turned down, silently promising that would belong to him alone and that no one would be able to stand in his way. The princess found herself captivated by how attractive appeared. The boy sat quietly, his mind turning over the idea that he needed to find unfamiliar martial arts, since relying on his clan's moves would make it too easy for others to discover who he really was. The princess walks toward the young man, making sure he notices her presence. His eyes widened when he noticed her arrival, immediately sensing that she belonged to the dynasty. However, he suspected that she had yet to realize who he was. She wonders aloud whether he feels any fear toward her. He pretends to be a youngster, showering the princess with compliments about her beauty. His charisma affected her, prompting her to gently pinch his cheek while she admired his bravery. Invents a sorrowful tale, insisting that his family has been destroyed and that he had no choice but to enter the secret realm because he lacked the necessary resources. Feeling a surge of compassion, the princess decides to offer him a place on her team, hoping it will help protect him from harm. He pretends to be enthusiastic as he gives his agreement. At the same time, Luo Dong's heart burns with deep resentment whenever he thinks about. He seethed with frustration, knowing that had disrupted his carefully laid plans involving the princess. He started following the princess and her companions. Not long after, was suddenly confronted by a fierce wolf. Intercepted the blow with effortless skill, leaving the princess astonished by the remarkable display of his strength. Realized he had been restraining his true strength. At that moment, it becomes clear to her that Luo Dong is following their movements. Luo Dong made his entrance at last, announcing that his purpose in this world was tied to the princess. Producing a formidable artifact known as the ancient trapping pearl, he ensnared her with its power. Meanwhile, he inwardly dismissed the artifact's strength, feeling unimpressed by its supposed might. Luo Dong burst into wild laughter, openly expressing his lust for her and her rare 9-yin physique. The mention of this unique trait immediately captured Sa's attention. As the campfire crackled later that evening, kept up his pretense by expressing his fear to Big Sister and nervously requesting permission to sleep beside her. The princess playfully provokes him, expressing her curiosity about how someone capable of defeating spiritual beasts could ever experience fear. He claimed to be genuinely frightened, offered her a compliment, and then, pretending to be serious, inquired whether she had a Tao companion. The princess responded with a sorrowful expression, admitting that she did not know. Persisted with his charade, pretending to be astonished that someone as beautiful and high-ranking as princess lacked any admirers. The princess tells him that every man who comes near her seems to want something for himself and harbors secret motives. When he inquired about her intentions, she confessed her secret and questioned whether he was familiar with the rare and remarkable 9-yin body. She reveals that this unique physique offers great advantages to dual cultivators, which is why nefarious sects hunt for women with this trait, intending to exploit them as tools for their own cultivation. Acted as if he understood everything, tightened his hand into a fist to show fake anger, and silently promised himself that he would keep her safe from anyone with bad intentions who tried to come near her. The princess noticed the hint of childish jealousy in his expression, and with a gentle smile, encouraged him to get some rest. They settled beside the warm glow of the fire. Suspects that has not left the area and remains close by. Frustrated by being watched all the time, he realized that if he wanted any peace, he would need to deal with the troublesome creature soon. With that thought weighing on his mind, he left the camp behind. Worry etched across her face, the princess trails behind him. She gently admonishes him for acting carelessly and venturing out on his own. He offers her an apology. Luo Dong, his eyes filled with envy, stepped into view as he observed the others. Suddenly found himself under attack as his opponent lunged at him, loudly accusing him of courting death. Faced him with composure and explained that he had been expecting his arrival. Luo Dong directed an aggressive strike at. The princess steps forward, placing herself between the two, and demands to know Luo Dong's purpose. He lets out a dark, menacing laugh. The character assured them that the answer would be revealed in due time. She hurled the old, mystical trapping pearl toward them. Both of them became trapped, and fury flashed across the princess's face. She warned him that neither she nor her dynasty would tolerate his behavior, insisting that he set them free immediately if he wished to prevent the outbreak of war. Luo Dong simply smiles at her threats, showing no fear and welcomes her to make an attempt. The princess cautioned him, telling him that he might regret his decision. The princess attempted to use her family's ancient rescue seal, hoping it would save her, but within the confines of the pearl, the seal failed and broke apart. Luo Dong taunted her, pointing out that this pearl had been carefully crafted by his ancestor, Wan, who possessed an exceptional mastery of spatial laws. He explained that the pearl blocked all spiritual energy use for anyone weaker than an ancient emperor, and he suggested she give up without resistance. Understanding just how serious things had become, the princess quickly came up with a strategy. She leaned in close to, quietly telling him that she intended to use a special technique to help him escape the secret realm. She instructed him that, once he was free, he must immediately call upon the troops of her dynasty. Before she has a chance to put her plan into action, shifts his focus too. With a mocking sneer, he openly ridicules, recognizing him as the Luo clan's forsaken child from half a decade earlier. The princess roamed aimlessly, puzzled by what had said and trying to understand his meaning. Remained composed as he addressed the situation, making two things clear. He firmly distanced himself from any connection to the notorious Luo clan, boldly stating that his true identity was. Next, he turns to Luo Dong with a mocking tone, questioning whether Luo Dong truly believes victory is already his. Luo Dong let out a scornful laugh, ridiculing for his bravado in the face of imminent death, and firmly declared his intention to kill to avenge his clan. Despite the overwhelming force of the pearl, the princess fought to resist its influence and, in her defiance, accused Luo Dong of being an utterly shameless demon. Convinced that there is no way out, she begins to think of a way to give herself up as a distraction for Luo Dong, hoping this will allow to run for help. Dismissed her suggestion, assuring her that she should relax because he had an easier solution in mind. He lifts off the ground, enveloped in a radiant glow of shimmering gold. Luo Dong was left stunned, struggling to understand how he could still access spiritual energy even though he was confined within the pearl. Looked at the artifact with clear disdain, his face twisting into a mocking sneer. He referred to it as a broken bead, and with a quick motion of his hand, destroyed the restrictive force it held over him. He suddenly materialized in front of, making it clear through his actions that he disliked being underestimated, and then lightly tapped his forehead with his finger. A gentle touch was all it took. Spiritual energy begins to fade away. His bones fractured painfully as he collapsed onto the ground. The princess stared at the unfolding events, her expression frozen in disbelief. Luo Dong collapsed onto the ground, utterly powerless, his voice rising in a desperate cry as he insisted that the situation before him could not possibly be real. Loomed above, his tone dripping with sarcasm as he questioned whether the fallen figure now recognized the strength possessed by the forsaken descendant of the Luo clan. Luo Dong pleaded desperately, promising to keep the events a secret if his life was spared. Looked down on the suggestion, making it clear that he did not fear the Luo clan. He announced his intention to confront them himself before reaching adulthood, but for the time being, he planned to take a small payment as a warning. He infused Spotty with a glowing, golden core of energy. Luo Dong, his voice trembling with fear, demands to know what has been done to him. Clarifies that he does not crave violence, recalling how his mother once taught him the value of compassion. Because of this lesson, he decides to offer his opponent an opportunity. If the man can escape and reach his ancestor in the span of time it takes 3 sticks of incense to burn, and have his golden core removed, then survival is possible for him. The princess made a desperate attempt to caution, fearing that if he set Luo Dong free, terrible misfortune would befall both him and the entire family. Calmly assures her that the young thief has no chance of getting away. As Luo Dong made his escape, he shouted promises of vengeance and vowed to bring ruin upon the family. Seething with determination, he internally pledged to shatter every bone in Spotty. The second person quietly started a countdown, beginning at 3. As he finishes counting, a distant explosion erupts in. Glanced at the stunned princess and offered a playful smile, making it clear through his expression that his earlier mention of mercy had only been a jest. He revealed, with a hint of mischief, that he rarely heeded his mother's advice. After seeing everything unfold, Princess became certain that the child before her was truly the fabled heir of the family. Memories of her father's lingering remorse over ending the betrothal filled her mind, and she wondered if this encounter could be the opportunity to mend what had once been broken. Together, they traveled to the location where the explosion occurred. Minimized the significance of being called the divine child, explaining that his powerful cultivation from birth had merely attracted some attention. The princess turned to him and inquired whether he had been responsible for the thunder tribulation that had brought chaos to the secret realm. He confessed with composure that he was responsible for triggering the tribulation, letting out a sigh as he reflected on how he hadn't anticipated that a routine tribulation meant to surpass the ancient emperor realm would create such a stir. He expresses with a touch of longing that remarkable abilities often stir envy in the heavens. The princess gazes at him in awe, marveling at the strength and assurance he exudes. In her mind, He resembles a deity from legends who has come down to walk among humans. She cannot help but wonder what kind of person he will turn into as he matures. She quickly chastises herself for thinking that way, observed her quietness, and wondered if something had made her unhappy. He admitted to her that, at first, he had deliberately kept her close in order to use her as bait in his plan to draw out and defeat Luo Dong. She calmly let him know that she held no grudges and felt no anger toward him. In fact, she believed she owed him gratitude for assisting her in uncovering and eliminating a secret danger. His expression softened, revealing a sense of relief. Later, the group gathered around a glowing campfire. The princess pondered the whispers about the clan's son, once doubting claims that he was the rebirth of a legendary emperor, but now she found those stories increasingly believable. She is amazed by how talented, clever, and well-spoken he is, realizing that hardly anyone else her age can match his abilities. Breaks into her train of thought. He resumes his innocent demeanor, his thoughts drifting as he quietly speculates about who might be fortunate enough to marry big sister Xia someday. This leaves her feeling unsettled, causing her to question the odd things he asks. Once their discussion shifted to a more somber tone, she cautioned him, emphasizing that he failed to grasp how severe the issue with the Luo clan truly was. She clarified that Luo Dong belonged to their main bloodline, and because of this, their ancestors would not allow the conflict to be resolved quietly. She also brings to his attention the trap that her dynasty, along with the Luo clan, has arranged for him just beyond the secret realm. Dismissed the threat with arrogance, confidently claiming he could end Luo's life with just one palm. However, the princess questioned his boldness, warning him to consider how he would handle things when the full might of the Luo clan came after him. The explanation highlighted that the clan possessed numerous highly skilled individuals. In an effort to aid his escape, she presents him with a mystical artifact inherited from her father, a powerful item capable of hiding his presence from others. She urged him to accept it, explaining that he had aided her and suggesting that the powerful dynasty might not always oppose him. Took the offered gift, making it clear where he stood. While he valued their personal friendship, he felt no affection for her ruling family. Deep inside, he promised himself that General Wu Qi would be held accountable for both the disrespect shown to his mother and the injustices suffered by his clan. In an unexpected turn, the princess suggests giving Wu Kai to him,